If I had my first $10,000 in Australia today, I would not start by asking, which stock will make me rich? I'd ask a much better question. What order should this money go in? Because the order matters more than most beginners realize. Your first $10,000 is the point where investing stops feeling theoretical. It is real money, big enough to matter and big enough to regret mishandling. It is also enough to build a real portfolio, establish habits that compound for decades, and give your future self a genuine head start. But this is also the stage where beginners make the mistakes that cost the most. Overcomplicating, chasing hype, waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. So today, I'm walking you through a 4-layer framework I would actually use if I were starting from scratch in Australia right now. Not theory, not generic advice. The real thinking behind how to structure your first serious investment. And I will tell you up front, most beginners accidentally start with the last layer. This is general education only, not personal financial advice. Before I put even $1 into any investment, I would ask one question. Do I need this money in the next 2 years? If yes, it does not belong in shares. That is not being scared. That is understanding risk. Markets can fall 30% and stay down for longer than you expect. If this $10,000 is the deposit you need for a home, a car, a wedding, a move overseas, it should be sitting in a high-interest savings account earning 5% or more, not in an ETF riding the volatility of global markets. Money needed within 2 years belongs somewhere safe. Full stop. If that money is genuinely available to invest for 5 years or longer, then we build. The first piece of the portfolio is Australian shares through a broad ETF. If you are brand new to this, an ETF is simply a fund that buys a basket of companies in a single trade. Instead of trying to pick the next winning stock, you own a slice of hundreds of companies at once. Simpler, more diversified, and historically more effective than most individual stock pickers. In Australia, the most commonly discussed options are VAS from Vanguard, A200 from betashares, and IOZ from iShares. VAS tracks the ASX 300, roughly 300 of Australia's largest listed companies, at just 0.07% per year in fees. A200 covers the top 200 at 0.04%. IOZ also covers the top 200 at 0.05%. For most beginners, the differences between these three are genuinely minor. The more important question is whether you have any Australian exposure at all. Here is the uncomfortable truth though. An Australian ETF can look diversified on the surface, but under the hood, a huge chunk is still banks and miners. Financials, the big four banks, make up around 32% of VAS. Materials and mining add another 27%. So over half of your supposedly diversified Australian fund is actually 2 sectors. That is not necessarily bad. Australian shares come with something most global investors cannot access: franking credits. When Australian companies pay dividends, they have already paid 30% company tax on those profits. The government gives that back to you as a credit. It is a genuine tax advantage that boosts your after-tax return, and it is one of the strongest reasons to hold Australian shares at all. But Australian ETFs are one piece of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle. Layer 2, a broad global ETF. And this one matters more than most people realise. This is the part that changed how I think about investing. Australia is home, but Australia is not the whole world. Australia represents about 2% of the global share market by value. 2%. That means if you only invest in Australian shares, you are ignoring 98% of the world's listed businesses. Almost all of global technology, global healthcare, global consumer brands, hundreds of industries barely represented on the ASX. A global ETF fixes that in a single trade. The most commonly discussed option in Australia is VGS from Vanguard. It tracks the MSCI World ex-Australia Index, developed markets outside Australia, holds roughly 1,246 companies across more than 20 countries, and charges 0.18% per year. BGBL from betashares covers similar ground at just 0.08% annually. One ticker mix-up worth knowing before you buy anything. IOZ is Australian. IOO is global. They look almost identical. They are completely different products. IOO tracks the S&P Global 100, the 100 largest multinational companies in the world. It gives you heavy exposure to the biggest businesses on the planet, but it is more concentrated than VGS. Worth understanding before you click buy. If you want to keep this as simple as possible, one Australian ETF plus one global ETF is genuinely enough to form the core of a solid beginner portfolio. Australia for home market exposure and franking credits, global for everything else. 2 funds, done. Layer 3, optional, a NASDAQ 100 tilt. This one is not for everyone, but it is worth understanding what it actually does. NDQ from betashares tracks 100 of the largest non-financial companies on the NASDAQ exchange. Heavy exposure to global technology and innovation. Fee of 0.48% per year. Here is the honest framing. NDQ is not the meal. It is the seasoning. Too little and it may not move the needle. Too much and suddenly your entire portfolio tastes like one sector. And here is the thing most beginners miss. If you already hold VGS or BGBL, you already have meaningful exposure to many of the same companies. Adding NDQ on top does not increase your diversification. It increases your concentration in one part of the market. That works well when growth and technology perform strongly. It also means steeper drawdowns when they do not. If you include it, treat it as a growth tilt on top of a diversified core, not the core itself. Keep the allocation small enough that a 30% correction in the NASDAQ does not derail your entire plan. Layer 4, crypto, only if you genuinely understand what you are doing. Speculation comes last. Not because it cannot make money, but because it should never be the thing your financial future depends on. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the largest and most established cryptocurrencies. But even they are highly volatile, difficult to value by traditional methods, and completely inappropriate as a core holding for a beginner investor. Crypto belongs in the tiny speculative corner, not in the driver's seat. If you include it at all, it belongs in the part of the portfolio you can watch swing 40% in either direction without changing your behavior. The part that, if it went to zero tomorrow, does not take your financial plan with it. Build the core first. Australian ETF, Global ETF, optional NASDAQ tilt. Then, and only then, consider whether a speculative position actually makes sense for you. The mistake is doing it the other way around. And most beginners do. 4 traps that end portfolios early. Trap 1. Investing money you will need soon. Covered already. If the timeline is under 2 years, it does not belong in shares. Trap 2. Picking individual stocks before building a core. Hot tips, trending tickers, speculative single company bets. This is where most beginners take their first real loss and walk away from the market for years. Build the foundation first. Trap 3. Waiting for the perfect moment. The market is always giving you a reason to wait. Rates are high, rates might move. There might be a correction. There is always something. And every month you wait is a month of compounding you cannot get back. Time in the market beats timing the market. The data backs that up across every long holding period we have. Trap 4. Going all in on one idea too early. A 50% drawdown on your first real investment is not just a financial hit. It is a psychological one. A bad start can keep people out of the market for years. Diversify first. Take concentrated positions later once you understand exactly what you own and why. The framework in plain terms,
Diversified core first, growth tilt second, speculation last. Because long-term investing success does not come from one brilliant decision in year one. It comes from a handful of sensible decisions made in the right order and then letting time do the work you cannot do yourself. If you got something out of this, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And drop a comment, how would you invest your first $10,000 in Australia right now? I read every one. I'll see you in the next one.